How can you scale your legal nurse business without sacrificing quality? Well, it comes down to 7 non-negotiable quality control steps. My name's Randy. I run a very successful legal nurse consulting firm, and I've mentored hundreds of nurses on how to do the same. So here's the thing that most nurses that are legal nurse consultants don't realize. First is quality. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about having a consistently dependable work product that the attorney knows what he's going to get. Yes, it should be accurate, but we get hung up sometimes on perfection, and perfection's not required. Consistently high quality work is. The second thing that LNC sometimes miss is that your subs are literally your reputation. You get one sloppy chronology, one bad report that's written by a sub, and you just turn it in without a quality review check, a specific 7-step quality review check, and it can destroy your reputation. And if you destroy your reputation with one attorney, that attorney, just like referrals can work in your benefit, bad reputation can work against you and it can compound. Third thing is that scalability requires not just luck or endless personal reviews. It requires systems and processes to help you do the right thing over and over and over. And the painful truth is that you can't grow beyond what you can personally review unless you have this 7-step QC process. And I'm going to walk you through this checklist. I'm going to share my screen here with you, walk you through this checklist, and then you can download it right below and use it for yourself. Feel free to go ahead and do that. So let's go over the 7-step quality control system. First, subcontractor selection. This is really your first defense, because if you're just out there hiring random legal nurses from Facebook groups, you could get in trouble really fast. And you may be a legal nurse who's maybe dipped your toe in or took another course, and you found that it was hardly worth it because you can't find good subs. And so you're stuck with 2 or 3 cases at a time because you can't scale past that, because you can't do more than that. So you are literally the bottleneck of your business. So at Catalyst, we have a 4-point vetting process. Now, we'll go ahead and tell you the caveat. If you're with Catalyst, this is automatic. If you're not with Catalyst, this is going to be a bear, because here's the 4-step process. 1, specialty verification. So don't use a PI nurse for a birth injury case and so on and so forth. If you're going to use a sub, try to get them as close to the specialty that case has as you can. Second, this is where it starts getting kind of sketch if you're not in Catalyst. You need to have a sample report from them, and you need to audit that to ensure medical accuracy and legal relevance. That can be really hard because you don't have the records. Again, if you're not in Catalyst, you don't have the records that they reviewed. So you're kind of taking their word for it. You're looking at formatting, it sounds good, but how much of it is even theirs, you may not know. So that can be a really hard part, but it is absolutely paramount. Number 3 is the turn time stress test. So you want to make sure that, I'm going to teach you a process here where you can make sure that they stay on task with what they need to do and get it turned into you in an appropriate amount of time. Because the last thing you want is your subcontractor screaming in at the 11th hour with a half-done report. And number 4 is reference checks from other LNCs. So reference checks, again, can be hard if they haven't gotten a lot of work, or if their references are their friends. Again, inside of Catalyst, this is all very standard. This is very easy because in Catalyst, everyone's coming through the same training, the same practice cases. When you get one of their sample work products, it's probably going to be a practice case that you did the practice case yourself, so if it's correct or incorrect. So it makes it a lot easier, and you can trust them because they're a part of our community. All right, so another thing that I want to talk about here is we talked about that turn time stress test, and I want to go back to that. And I call this the 72-hour buffer rule. So you should never let subs deliver straight to the attorneys, number 1. At a bare minimum, they need to get you an initial draft a few days before the deadline. This is if someone's new, you don't trust them, you don't know them. It's not that you don't trust them, you just can't trust them because you don't know them yet. I recommend 3 days before the deadline that you have to submit it, they're getting you that initial draft so you guys can talk through it and answer any questions. 1 day before, they should get you a revised draft that's getting pretty darn close to finalized. If there's anything that needs to be changed, they need to change that and get that back to you at least 12 hours before it needs to be submitted to the attorney. That's actually like, these timelines are as far as I would go. This is assuming that day 3, they turned in something really good. Day 1, it was really amazing. 1 day before, that it was really amazing. There were just a few things that needed to be corrected. I might trust them to get it to me 12 hours before. What I have found is that with the great subcontractors, they're typically Johnny on the spot. So it actually doesn't even take as long. The timeline's not as tight as what we're talking about here. The third part of the 7-step quality control system is what I call the triple lens initial review. So you want to go over that review looking for 3 things. Medical accuracy. So what I recommend is that you pull 3 random records. Again, this is on a sub that you don't know, that you can trust, that they haven't done 5 cases for you and blown you out of the water. So I recommend just 3 records, pull those records, ensure that every diagnosis, every procedure is correct and been correctly interpreted. I can tell you I've had many times at Loveless Legal Nurse Consulting that we found diagnoses missed, dates that were incorrect. It says orthopedic surgeon and it was a neurosurgeon. Like, there's a lot of things that you have to be careful of, especially if your subs haven't been vetted through a trusted program like Catalyst. The second thing to look for is legal relevance. So look for any flags of legal relevance. Does what they're talking about help prove causation? Are they muddying the water with a bunch of irrelevant findings? The third thing is the story flow. Could a jury follow it? Could the attorney stand up in front of a jury, read the report, and follow what it says? And look for any gaps in the logical flow of the case, because sometimes you'll find that the wording's good, but the flow doesn't quite make sense. And you need to work all this out before you turn it into your attorney. Okay, the 4th step of this 7-step quality control process is what I call grammar warfare. So here's a good trick to use if you want to make sure that you're not missing any grammatical errors. You may want to print the report. That's personal preference. I don't love to print, but I do know sometimes it helps people if they print it and can see it in person and paper. Once you print the report, read it backwards. Or if you're reading it online, if you're reading it electronically in an electronic format, read it backwards. Read sentence by sentence backward. That will literally help you catch many, many more errors. And there's some studies that show you can catch as many as 89, 90% more errors doing it that way, because your brain's not filling in the gaps to the context. Third thing to do is to use text to speech. You can do that on your computer where you have your computer read it to you, and that will help you hear awkward phrasing. Fourth thing to do, when you go through that chronology report, make sure there's no passive voice, that there's a consistent use of tense. I see that all the time. We go between past tense and present tense are the 2 that I see most often. And make sure there's no spelling errors. The 5th step in the 7-step process is what I call the narrative tightrope. Every paragraph needs to start with a fact, it needs to build with analysis, and it needs to end with a legal implication. Number 6 step. This one is one my wife is wonderful at. Thread pulling, the thread pulling protocol. So when you spot a red flag, you see something that doesn't quite line up. My wife actually calls that pulling on a thread. So if you think of like a sweater and you pull that thread, sometimes the whole thing unravels. So you need to, if you see a red flag, go in and re-examine all the records from that date, cross-check against any standards of care, and make sure that the documentation reflects the why behind every finding. The last step, number 7, the coaching conundrum. So here's the thing, and this isn't me telling you to have me as a coach. I'd love if you did, but that's not what this is about. This is about you being the coach. If you invest just 15 minutes, you can save yourself 15 hours. So for those subcontractors that you're planning to keep, and by that I mean subcontractors that stink, I don't work with them anymore. If they're not very good, we don't continue to work with them. If they're amazing, or even if they're average and you want to continue working with them, putting a little coaching into them will help them to grow, and it will take hours and hours off of your plate in the future. So for those subs you want to work with routinely, I like to record Loom videos. If you're not familiar with Loom, it's free. You can download it. It's super cool. And you can send a Loom video walking them through the edits that you made. If this is a sub that's a one-timer, you don't really plan to use them again because they didn't do that great of a job. My recommendation is just fix it, move on. Send them a copy of the completed, corrected version so they can put it side by side with what they turned in and they can learn from it. But I don't spend a ton of time trying to coach those that I don't plan on ever using again. Be sure to schedule your feedback as close to the report submission as possible. And before you submit your final work product, ask yourself, would I stake my reputation on this? Because you really are. And now I'll be honest, trying to build this system alone, it can be super daunting. As a member of Catalyst, if you choose to join us, you're going to get pre-vetted subcontractor pool. You're not going to have risky hires because every subcontractor you use has come through our, what we call case story crafting. They've worked through the same practice cases you did. They got the individualized coaching multiple times as they grew. And you can bet if they listened, they're darn good subs. So you don't have risky hires anymore. Another thing you'll get in Catalyst is high quality subs who were trained the same way you were. So it's going to be kind of plug and play. You don't have to go out into Facebook world and try to find someone. You're also going to get mentorship on how to scale the right way. I know I've made plenty of mistakes, and I'm going to teach you how not to do that. So if you're ready to dive in, you're ready to start truly having a successful career as a legal nurse consultant, why wait? Now's the time. Click the link in the comment section. You can gain access to our free introductory training. Then you can book a roadmap call with my team. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe so you can continue to grow and develop your skills. I appreciate you watching.